To continue, in fact, with our focus on the story now, bring in a legal analyst, Ulrich Roux. Ulrich, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. Let's talk about what we've heard today and its significance given where the matter is. As Linda was detailing, we're meant to, at this point, deal with the admissibility of so-called confession statements. But what we have now is basically a claim that goes completely against what the state has argued were the circumstances of Mayiwa's killing.
Hi, good afternoon, Tembekile. Thank you for having me. There is certainly explosive evidence that came out in court today, and certainly concerning evidence which Kelly Khumalo would have to deal with, and one would have to wait and see how it is going to be dealt with going forward. So just to clear up a few issues, she is not an accused before court at the moment. She's not one of the 5 accused who have been charged with the murder of Senzo Mayiwa. But if evidence does come out and it is placed on the record during this trial, then, and it implicates her, then the state will be at liberty to institute charges against her upon the finalization of this matter. And certainly, you know, if the evidence contained in the investigating officer's affidavit, which was read out in court today, is accepted by the court, and it is proven to be evidence that is not brought into repute by cross-examination or other evidence that is adduced, then certainly one could expect the NPA to take the next steps and to charge Kelly Khumalo with this murder. So definitely concerning evidence that came out today for her in court today.
You say Kelly Khumalo may be brought to court as an accused person in relation to Mayiwa's killing. We know there were 2 dockets. In fact, there exist 2 dockets. The state has chosen to prosecute on this one that lays the premise for a murder during a botched home invasion. When you say she could be brought, let's say, to court as an accused person at the end of the process, do you mean that this trial would have to conclude and a fresh one would begin? And if it did, would that then mean the reintroduction of the other docket that we know the NPA still has?
It could very well, yes. So the correct strategy that should have been followed, and we all know that hindsight is 20/20 vision, but you know, if they were in possession of this evidence prior to the commencement of this trial, then she should have been added as an accused together with the 5 people who are currently accused in this matter. So if the allegations contained in the investigating officer's statement read out in court today are in fact the truth, then they will all be charged with the murder of Senzo Mayiwa. Of course, if it is what we so-called contract murders, in other words, she contracted certain individuals to carry out the murder of Senzo Mayiwa, then she would face those charges, but the people who actually committed the murder will face those charges together with her. So the difficulty the state obviously has at the moment is that they've only charged these 5 individuals before court today, but that does not preclude them from instituting charges against her at a later stage.
Is that avoidable, Ulrich? Is that avoidable at this stage, the possibility or the need even perhaps in law to bring charges against Kelly Khumalo where her guilt or innocence can actually be pronounced upon once and for all by a court?
Yes, no, definitely. She would have to be charged, and she would obviously have to be given the opportunity to defend herself on the charges that are leveled against her. So it would definitely have to be a comprehensive trial in order to determine her guilt or innocence, as you put it. But you know, any evidence that is deposed to under oath and that is ventilated in an open court can be used at a later stage by the NPA and by the police. So if more evidence comes to light during this matter, which implicates, you know, the accused before court, but also implicates Kelly Khumalo, then you could very well see the evidence that has been adduced in this trial to be used again at a later stage should the NPA level charges against her. Certainly the evidence you know, contained on the cell phones and the fact that she was in contact with a number of the accused who are currently before court, that there were photos of cash in a plastic bag on her phone as well as on the phone of one of the accused, certainly you know, implicates her to a large extent. So one can expect the South African Police Services to definitely investigate that further and for the NPA then to possibly institute those charges against her at a later stage. They could institute the charges against her whilst this trial is still proceeding, but it would not be a strategically sound decision in my opinion. They would first want to deduce all of the evidence in this current pending matter and then corroborate all of that evidence, streamline it, and then if there's a reasonable foreseeability of a successful prosecution against Kelly Khumalo and she is implicated and that evidence is tested and it does seem as if there is a case against her on the face of it, then they should institute those charges against her.
But how surreal would it be, Ulrich, as far as coincidences go, that someone who was in a relationship with this now murdered man says they were all the victims of a home invasion, yet there are these cell phone records which we're told show that she was in contact with at least one of the men accused of killing him in that robbery? What are the chances?
Well, it's certainly very damning for her, and it certainly creates a lot of doubt on her version and on her credibility. And it is something that she will have to deal with, in order to avoid being convicted of this murder, should the charges be laid against her at a later stage. She would have to attack the credibility of the cell phone analysis and the cell phone evidence, the evidence which links her to the accused currently before court. But certainly it is very concerning for her and for her legal team, and they will have to deal with this properly. We have a lot of high-profile matters, especially violent crimes, where people are linked to crimes via cell phone evidence, via the circulation of cell phones, placing people in the same locations when a crime is committed. And normally that evidence is damning in a trial such as this, so they will have to deal with it properly.
Ulrich Roux, good to speak to you, legal analyst speaking to us here on Newzroom Afrika. Thank you.